Picture a cave above the Dead Sea. Dry, dead silence. The kind of heat that makes your throat close up. A team of archaeologists isn't even hunting for weapons. They're chasing a 3,000-year-old scrap of Hebrew writing on a stalactite. And then someone's flashlight catches metal wedged deep in a rock crack. 4 Roman swords, still in their scabbards. Wood and leather intact after nearly 2,000 years underground. Here's the thing, nobody tells you about Roman weapons. They weren't supposed to survive. Iron rusts, wood rots. Armies looted battlefields clean within hours of the fighting stopping, stripping the dead for anything worth reusing or melting down. A sword left behind wasn't an accident. It was either hidden on purpose, lost in a place no one could reach again, or buried by someone who never came back for it. So when one of these things turns up intact, it's not just a cool artifact. It's a frozen moment, a soldier's last decision, a rebel stash, a battle that history books got wrong. We're counting down 10 of them. Real digs, real archaeologists, real we rubbed our eyes moments. Number 1 is going to make you rethink what you know about who actually fought Rome. Start small. A guy named Glenn Manning is out at a metal detecting rally in the North Cotswolds, the kind of hobby weekend where most people go home with a rusty coin or a horseshoe. He finds 2 Roman cavalry swords, spathas, still wrapped in fragments of their wooden scabbards. Professor Simon James from Leicester University dated them to the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD, the era when Cirencester, right nearby, was the 2nd biggest town in Roman Britain. And here's the eerie part. He said he couldn't think of another case where 2 swords like this turned up together in Britain, except one. A pair found in Canterbury, buried with their owners face down in what looked like a double murder. Nobody knows yet why these 2 ended up in a field. That's what makes it unsettling. A spatha isn't a gladius. It's longer, built for a rider on horseback. Roman law let ordinary travelers carry one too, since the roads were crawling with bandits. Head south to Spain to a hill town called Libisosa near Albacete. Decades of digging here have pulled up helmets, swords, daggers, shields, a mix of Iberian and Roman gear, sometimes from the exact same layer of dirt. Researchers who studied the site admitted something most documentaries won't tell you. You often can't prove who was holding a weapon when it was lost. A blade found here could have belonged to a local resisting Rome, a local allied with Rome, or a Roman legionary himself. The line between enemy and ally blurs the second you're standing in the actual dirt where it happened. Vindolanda, a fort along Hadrian's Wall, has been dug for 50 years. You'd think there's nothing left to surprise anyone. Then in 2017, a volunteer excavator pulls 2 real cavalry swords out of a barrack room floor, alongside 2 miniature wooden toy swords, shaped almost exactly like the ones kids still play with today. Head archaeologist Andrew Burley put it bluntly, a Roman cavalryman leaving his sword behind was like a modern soldier walking off base and dumping his rifle on the ground. It just didn't happen. Something went wrong in that barracks fast enough that nobody came back for their gear or their kids' toys. Vindolanda's soil preserves what most sites lose: leather, wood, handwritten letters, because it's thick with oxygen-starved mud. That's why 2 toy swords carved by an actual Roman child survived 19 centuries. Same dig, different layer. Alongside those swords, the team pulled out ballista bolts, the ammunition for Rome's torsion-powered crossbows, machines that could punch a metal bolt clean through a shield and the man behind it. Finding bolts scattered in a living space, not a battlefield, tells you these weren't ceremonial. This was a working garrison, armed and ready, mixed in with combs, shoes, and kids' toys. War and daily life, sitting in the same layer of mud. A field ballista wasn't a siege engine parked outside a wall. Smaller versions moved with a marching column. Finding the bolts still stacked, unused, tells you whatever happened there happened fast. Now we go north, into the bogs. Northern European tribes had a habit that still creeps archaeologists out. After a battle, the winning side would take the enemy's weapons, break them on purpose, and throw them into a lake or bog as an offering. Swords bent double, spearheads snapped, not lost, sacrificed. That's why so many weapons pulled from Scandinavian wetlands over the last century show damage that has nothing to do with rust or time. Someone did that with their hands, on purpose, as a message to their gods, or maybe to their enemies' ghosts. Peat bogs are low oxygen and acidic enough to slow decay almost to a stop, which is why so much of this era's weaponry comes out of mud instead of museums. Quick pause. If this is the kind of thing that gets your brain buzzing, hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps this video reach more people who'd love this stuff. Okay, back to it. In Denmark, near a town called Vejle, a road construction survey turns into one of the strangest finds in Scandinavian archaeology. A chieftain's stash with swords, spears, chainmail, bronze oath rings, and 2 fragments of a Roman legionary helmet, the only Roman helmet ever documented in Denmark. Archaeologist Elias Witte Thomassen offered 2 theories. Maybe a Germanic warrior served in Rome's auxiliary forces and brought his kit home when his service ended. Or maybe he took it off a dead Roman soldier on some battlefield near the empire's northern frontier, hundreds of miles south. Either way, that helmet crossed a border Rome itself, never fully controlled. Not far from that helmet site, near the town of Hedensted, the same museum team hit something on a completely different scale. 199 spears, 8 swords, an axe, 5 knives, 3 arrowheads, bronze necklaces, and another fragmentary helmet that looks strikingly Roman in style. The project director called it a discovery that exceeded all expectations, and it took months just to piece the fragments back together. This wasn't one soldier's gear left behind. This was an army's worth of weapons, deliberately gathered in one spot, for reasons nobody has fully worked out yet. Nearly 200 spears doesn't happen by accident. Someone organized that. A war memorial, a mass surrender, or an unfinished cleanup, archaeologists are still reverse engineering which. Back to that Dead Sea cave from the opening. 4 swords total. 3 standard-issue spathas, and 1 that stopped researchers cold, a ring pommel sword, a style that originated along the Danube River over them 1,800 miles away. It's the oldest known example of that design ever found in the Roman East. Eitan Klein, who directs the Israel Antiquities Authority's Judean Desert Survey, thinks the weapons were battlefield trophies taken from Roman soldiers by Jewish rebels and hidden deep in the rock for reuse. A coin from the era of the Bar Kokhba revolt turned up right at the cave entrance. If the timeline holds, these blades may have been stolen during one of the most brutal uprisings Rome ever crushed. The Danube runs through modern Austria and the Balkans. A sword style born there ends up hidden near the Dead Sea, thousands of kilometers away. That's a weapon that traveled with an army, then got stolen. In 1987, a British army officer with a metal detector, hunting in northern Germany as a hobby, started pulling up Roman coins and sling bullets in a place called Kalkries. What followed was one of the most important battlefield excavations in European history. Weapons, armor scraps, and human remains scattered exactly the way you'd expect from an ambush, not an organized battle. Many researchers now believe this is the site of the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest, 9 AD, where Germanic tribes wiped out 3 entire Roman legions, roughly 20,000 men, in one of the worst military disasters in Rome's history. For nearly 2,000 years, the exact location was a mystery. A hobbyist with a metal detector cracked it open. Varus fell on his own sword rather than be captured. Augustus reportedly demanded his legions back. Legions Rome retired for good. Since 1987, Kalkries has given up around 6,000 Roman military objects, including a silvered parade mask with an eerily lifelike face. And we're back at Ein Gedi one last time, because the 5th weapon from that cave, the one that almost gets forgotten next to those 4 swords, might be the most important piece of the whole story. A pilum, a Roman javelin designed with a soft iron shank that bent on impact, so an enemy couldn't throw it back. A pilum wasn't a crude spear, about 2 meters end to end, with an iron shank engineered to buckle the instant it hit a shield. Every legionary carried 1 or 2, and any enemy who picked one up found it useless. Researchers are still working to confirm whether this weapon cache ties directly to the Bar Kokhba revolt of 132 to 135 AD, the last major Jewish rebellion against Roman rule, and one of the deadliest wars Rome ever fought to hold onto a province. If confirmed, that single bent piece of iron isn't just a weapon. It's physical proof of resistance, hidden in a crack in the rock by someone who never made it back to retrieve it. Here's what ties all 10 of these together. Not one of them was meant to be found. A sword hidden by a rebel, a helmet dragged home from a war Rome lost track of, a battlefield an entire empire tried to forget, weapons deliberately broken and thrown into a bog as an offering. Every single one of these objects exists today because something went wrong for someone 2,000 years ago. That's the part that gets me. We call them artifacts, but every one of them was somebody's last resort, the thing they grabbed, hid, or lost in the worst moment of their life. Rome told its own story for centuries. Marble columns, triumphant statues, official records written by the winners. But it's these buried, rusted, bent, and hidden weapons that tell the story Rome didn't get to control. The rebels, the ambushes, the soldiers who never went home. If any one of these 10 digs had gone slightly differently, a road never built, a detectorist who stayed home, a stalactite nobody bothered to photograph, we'd know none of this. So next time you see a boring field, an old wall, a quiet patch of forest, remember there might be an empire's worth of buried truth sitting right under it. Which one of these caught you off guard? Drop it in the comments. And before you go, if you're not subscribed yet, this is exactly the kind of history you'll want to keep seeing. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications. There's a lot more still buried out there waiting to be found.